Hi, welcome to DramaMeans. This week we're talking about the 2024 Korean drama Wonderful World. Today, drama means murder, drama means justice, and drama means as tired and recycled as you can get.
So before we dig into all that, first a little bit of a summary. A woman avenges the death of her son by killing the man responsible. After spending 7 years in prison, she realizes that the truth behind her son's death isn't as simple as she thought. To find the answers and punish the person actually responsible, she must rely on the most unlikely ally, the son of the man she murdered.
When I watched the preview for this drama, I was really excited. I think the first reason why I was really excited was I thought, oh, finally, Chan-woo is gonna do a kind of grittier role. He can show off his acting chops. So I was really excited for that because I was kind of sick of watching those
Typecast.
Yeah.
One-note kind of characters.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to see him in a more adult role. And so this is kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it. And then the other was the preview was pretty good. They showed the two tortured souls coming together and finding comfort, after going through such a hard time in their own lives kind of thing. And I was like, oh wow, what an interesting pairing, I thought. So I was kind of excited to watch it. But I have to say I'm pretty disappointed. The whole part of the tortured souls coming together and finding comfort was such a short amount of time, and they barely really had any parts of it in it where it was of any substance. And so they keep cutting the same scenes over and over again and showing the flashbacks of oh, we really bonded over these moments, and it's literally 3 beats and that was it, and just repeatedly these flashbacks of the same things over and over again. It was tiring, and it definitely shows oh, they really didn't bond. They didn't give the two characters enough time to bond and really show oh, him kind of faltering because of her care towards him. That was so short and such nothing that it just felt kind of okay, yeah. I fell for the trailer because that's what they put in the trailer.
Well, it's like those action movies who put every piece of action in the trailer, and then you watch it and realize it's 2 hours of talking followed by one action sequence, and you're like, wait, what was this action movie I was promised?
Yeah. So that was kind of it. And then it just became this really cookie cutter Korean drama, which it's been going on of these types of political dramas with the same notes over and over again. It's just kind of paint by numbers, enter your characters in, enter the situation, and then here's my formula. And this is your drama, and it's over and over again, the same thing. This type of political drama has definitely gone on for more than 20 years. It lacks creativity. It's predictable as all hell. The drama, the director, the writer, whatever you want to call it, trying to actually prevent the audience from knowing the fact that Kwon Son-yul, which is Chan-woo's character, that he is the son of the guy that Soo-hyun killed, right?
Right.
So it's this weird misdirect that they tried to do where the shoes of the person who's messing with her life, right, and following her and all this stuff, and then they give you this misdirect, and it's a whole different guy walking down the hallway with the same exact shoes on, which is the guy that Chan-woo's character poses as. First of all, there's 2 characters, right? like seemingly not related, don't know each other with the same exact last name. So like Sonyeol is like posing as Minhyuk, right? But like he's using his own actual name,
Yeah, right.
right? And it's like so easy because he's just like, oh, my last name is Kwon too. It's so like, okay.
I mean, to be fair, like, there are more people with names Smith, so, like, it wouldn't be that weird for, like, two Smiths, but I get it in the context of a drama. It would be very strange for the audience. Like, forget about the characters, but for the audience, and you're watching this, to go, wait, his name is the same last name as the other guy?
Yeah, so it's just so, it's like weird and so convenient and like,
It's one of those coincidences. If you would have left it in as a coincidence, it would have been a really weird, glaring mistake.
yeah.
Like, it would be odd. You'd be like, why would they do that? Why would they make that odd choice? Oh, it's not a coincidence at all.
Yeah. So, like, he's already posing as this other guy, right? He's taking the other guy's identity. And rather than just using your, like, actual name, like, why don't you just take the guy's identity? You're already posing as him. You might as well take his name, too. Like, it's not like she's gonna know.
I have it on good authority that fake IDs are really hard in Korea. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'm guessing. I said it's just really hard to get a fake ID made, and in case she was like, I want to see her identification.
Okay, but she didn't. She didn't ask for identity, like, identification, whatever. You know, like, literally she poked around and asked around and then, like, came across this therapist that he somehow knows, right? And then he's like, hey, therapist, do this favor for me and say, and like send her to me instead of that other guy.
Well, that whole setup is very strange to me, but I want to talk a little more about misdirects in general, because I think the things that people don't do well when they're trying to do a misdirect is ask yourself this question. If this guy isn't the son of the guy she killed, why is he in the story? What is his function in the story if that wasn't the truth? Because otherwise he's just kind of a guy who crosses paths with her. And yes, you can do shows where people just cross paths with each other. But if you simultaneously ask the dramatic question of, who's this person messing with her? You've now turned it into a little bit of a whodunit and a mystery, and you haven't given us that many possible answers to, well, who could it possibly be? What, maybe the only other person she's talking to? Or one of the only other people she's talking to?
Yeah.
So you can't ask a dramatic question and at the same time have a character that without the answer is meaningless. Those two things are the reason why we get ahead of the storytellers. And I think it's a really important lesson for writers. If you're going to give a misdirect, you have to give the audience a reason this character is participating that is completely plausible all by itself. You have to almost write it as if there is no twist. Like, think about the best twist movies always come from places of, well, I thought that character was just in jail and being helpful and doing this. And you're like, oh, their purpose was something way different.
Yeah. So this drama became this, like, drama that I was just like, oh yeah, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. And then I'm, like, watching it, and it's unraveling exactly how I'm, like, predicting it. Which is, like, I do anyway, like, everything I watch, I'm always, like, guessing the next move, you know? And then most of the time, I either kind of get it right, or I'm totally wrong, and I get surprised, and I really enjoy those surprises, or I'm, you know, wrong because they went a very convoluted way, but whatever it is. And I remember I went to a movie with my friend, and the movie is called Believer, starring Ryu Junyo. So, like, 2 minutes into it, I'm like, oh yeah, Ryu Junyo's the bad guy. I whisper it in my friend's ear. And she's like, really? You think so? And I'm like, yeah. Like, literally, there's no other way. The way they shot it, there's no other way it's anyone else other than Ryu Junyo, right? And so it's just like, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, ugh, this is so, like, blah. Because they're trying so hard to keep it from you.
Right. They're bending over backwards to like keep this secret. It's like the worst kept secret in the world.
Yeah. So I was just like, and then like, I don't know, maybe like 50 minutes into it, and she leans over and she goes, yeah, I think you're right. And then of course I was right, and that was how it was, and it ended and he was the bad guy. And then after the movie, like, she's like, I was going through the movie and I'm like thinking about how you just guessed it was like 2 minutes into it, and I was like, no, she has to be wrong, and then of course I was right.
But there's also like a film vocabulary that we all learn as we watch movies, even if it's not conscious, even if it's not conscious. I don't know how to do words. There's a film vocabulary. There's shots that are used. There's a horror movie shot. There's tension shots. There's different things that filmmakers do to make us feel or think a certain way. And if you start asking yourself, well, why was that in there? Well, why did they give this person this hero shot at this moment that seemingly in the present didn't mean anything? Well, because there's a hidden meaning. And now the filmmakers are telegraphing. And so I think a lot of it sometimes is just even the experience of watching a genre. If you've watched too many horror movies, you kind of know when someone's about to jump out of a door because suddenly they've pulled the camera back from a close shot to a wider shot that frames in the door. And you're like, oh, I bet someone's going to come through that door pretty soon. Yeah. So you start to learn these vocabulary of film things that blow it. And good filmmakers and good storytellers use that against us, where they use those shots in an inappropriate time to make us think the jump scare is coming from there. And then when they get to the close shot, the dude's standing right behind you and you're going to die. And it's like, oh, wait, that's not where I expected the jump scare to come.
Yeah.
And this just felt like they just had the playbook from 2012 Korean drama playbook, and they just ran every play in it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like you can see these, it's from like the beginning to the end, they solve the problems with the exact same resolution as like previous dramas. It's like, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of these political dramas, like it was fresh and kind of nice to see. And like, you kind of live with the over dramatization of everything. And then now it's kind of like, if I see another like random like, oh, we caught them on video doing this thing, and then we went and publicly like on TV or on live stream or whatever it was, it's always that same thing, and it ends the same every drama. And I'm like, I'm really tired of seeing this. Like, I want something more refreshing. I want you guys to go and find some new things to write about, and to like, I get it, like politics is a very huge topic, everywhere, but in Korea as well. And a lot of corruption is like happens in the whole Korean politics and stuff like that. I get it. But like, when every single drama that has anything to do like with like some kind of corrupt politician, it's the same story over and over again. And I've seen so many of them. I'm so tired of it. It's not new. It's not fun to watch. No matter how good the acting is, it's just like, yeah, I'm tired and I'm bored, and everything is so predictable, and it's just paint by numbers.
I mean, I think tired, I don't think it's you're tired. I think that the cliche is tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this idea, I actually think this show should be called Clichéful World, because it felt like, okay, so we've got the kid with the heart problem that needs an operation, and the deadbeat dad who is a complete piece of shit, but like a good enough piece of shit that he wants to like...
Well, he's not a deadbeat dad.
No, I know,
he's a good father to him.
But he's also a piece of shit.
To everyone, yeah.
Yeah, so like, he's a piece of shit dude who cares about his kid that needs a fucking heart transplant or whatever. I don't care. But like, cliche number one. Corrupt politician, cliche number two. Like, it's just, oh, let's get him on tape, or we gotta find the tape, cliche number four. Like, I've lost kind of my cliches. Oh, let's just expose him live on the news. Like, I'm sorry, that one is a cliche that needs to die, is like exposing on the big, like, Times Square style, like, news broadcast, I'm going to tell you, I spent a lot of the time in Times Square. I have never once seen a live news broadcast on the side of a building with sound that outed a corrupt politician. Just never seen it. Don't think it exists. Don't think that idea exists in the real world. Doing it once or twice, okay, fine. Yeah. Doing it in every freaking drama to resolve the problem, stop it. Just stop doing it. It's not real. It's not cool. It's not clever. It's not new. It did feel like maybe, I don't want to say it's just poor execution, because it just feels like poor execution of poor tropes. Because I feel like good tropes can be executed well and they're still tropes. Like, you know, we can do cliches, and if they're done really well, you kind of enjoy them. You know it's a cliche. You're like, it's a little hack, but you can enjoy it. But it becomes like this weird flavor when it's like a bad cliche on top of bad execution. And you're like, well, why am I even watching this? Like, I could watch any other drama. What is making me pick this one to sit with every week? Because there's nothing fantastic. Like, there's not fantastic romance. There's not fantastic action. There's not fantastic chemistry or passion or naked scenes. Like, there's nothing. What am I like grabbing onto here?
Well, most people I think that watch this would be grabbing onto Chan-woo. He is like, I don't think I ever told you, but he is from Astro. He's like the heartthrob. He is like known to be like one of the most beautiful men in Korea. You know, so I think that's why a lot of people are watching it. I think he's beautiful, but I don't necessarily like watch him, you know, for things, but I was excited for him to do another role that's not his norm. And the thing is, that role, that character, it's like there's such a fine line he has to be like walking, because he has to be likable for you to root for him, right? So he's like in that gray area, because he is like, for part of it, he is like kind of the villain.
Right.
Right? But you can't really look at him as the villain. So he can't be so dark that he's like, you know, not likable. But he can't be so light that it's unbelievable that he's like the villain. So I think he did a relatively good job. For me, I wish he was just a little bit darker, a little bit more on the villainy side, because, and I know he's like trying to cover up that he's the villain, because he, is trying to get this lady to believe that who he is, right? And he's not the son of the guy that she murdered. But, when like those moments where you like, you know, because they always try to drop little tiny hints, right? In those moments, like, he needs to be a little darker. He was a little too soft on that part. So
they were probably scared to death of making him too dark.
Yes.
Because you ultimately make him hateable, and then your whole show falls apart once that facade is dropped.
Yeah.
So I feel like they would be, I think much like they have to justify her killing the dad by making the dad kind of like spit in her face, basically. Which
is like really kind of ridiculous to me, because like he literally has a son who is always on death's door, and how like life is so important in that moment when like he is always like gonna lose his son at some point. Like, you know, it's always that threat, right? For him to be so like, yeah, I don't care that I killed your son. Like, do you know how it ruined, like, my business? Like, it's just, that doesn't even seem like that's what his character would say. Do you know what I mean? And there was, like, and it was so over the top of how he reacted to her, to asking, like, for an apology, that it's so caricature. It's not real. It's like, I don't know. It's just like the writing or the director just wanted him to be that way to justify her running him over. But like, if you really think about it, like a dad who has been concerned about his son's like health and well-being, and yeah, maybe for, you know, his own son, he had to kill her son, he should still show a little bit of remorse. You know what I mean? Like, even if you kind of show, like, hey, as a director, I'm like, hey, like, this is all a facade to the actor, right? This is a facade you're putting on the show, you know, because you're taking the blame for this congressman. But there should still be, like, a little hint of, like, hesitation, a little bit of, like, sorrow, a little bit of remorse, like, that you're holding within you in your eyes. And the actor didn't have it. I'm pretty sure the director didn't think to have him do that, because I don't think they've really thought too carefully about what his character really is, because this weird, like, corrupt character is just the same character in every single drama. So however other dramas are playing this character is good enough for this one.
Yeah, it's basically like, hey, can you do character number 4 from the bad guy playbook? And it's like, oh yeah, that one, number 4? Or did you want number 5? No, number 4 is perfect for this one. Like, no thought was put into it other than that.
Yeah.
Let's also just not gloss over that the beginning is the single dumbest crime ever. Like, running over the kid, moving the body, taking him to another location. This kid's been missing for 14 days now at this point. No, I know that. I know that's not true.
But it's several hours.
But it's, like, so long. Where, like, the mom is at this point is like, where did my kid go?
Well, I mean, they were running through the streets looking for the kid, but like what? The kid could have easily just been taken to the hospital and you been slapped on your hand. I know your, like, career is, like, on the line because you, like, had a DUI, but, like, really? That's worth killing a little kid, 6-year-old child, right? And by the way, his son, who he has with this mistress, where the mistress lives across the street, and their 2 children play together. They're the same age. So he's like, oh yeah, let's just kill this kid that's the same age as my own son without batting an eyelash. Because, oh yeah, it's going to ruin my career for my, like, future presidency.
I mean, that part is the only part I believe, is that people are selfish and horrible. It's just the rest of it where it's like, okay, so you could have hit and run. You could have taken the kid and just throw him off a cliff. Like, I'm like, what is this long? I mean, it just felt so contrived. And I think people like to use the word contrived and don't really understand what it really means. When you are just bending over backwards to make the plot things you want happen, that is contrived. So in this story, the writers needed the dad to be killed by the mom, right? I'm going to call him Heart Boy. Heart Boy's dad had to be a shitbag enough to get killed by the mom, and the mom to not be hated by the audience. So we need to write a scenario where that all makes sense. At the same time, we want a political conspiracy behind it. So then this guy takes the fall for him because he's going to exchange for the blah, 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 blah. So it's all just contrived to make the setup of the show work, not to make a compelling story. So when we say contrived, that's what that means.
Yeah. But also just, like, literally the stupidest thing ever. And it's funny because my friend had come over and, like, he was just watching. Literally, I'm like, hey, I'm on the last 2 episodes of this drama. You're going to watch it. So he started on, episode 13. And he's, like, half, like, looking at his phone and then, like, half looking up at the screen. And he's like, wait, what's going on? And then he's like, what? This is so stupid. And it just didn't make sense because it's literally, guy taps this kid, easily take him to the hospital and he would have been fine, right? Okay, fine, don't take him to the hospital and just leave him there. And then his parents find him, they take him to the hospital, and he would have been fine, right?
No, but that's what I'm saying. The only reason to do the things he did was because they had to do a show with this setup. Like, the pitch of the show, the elevator pitch, the executive pitch is exactly what we said in the summary. A woman kills a guy, and then to find the real killer, to punish the real bad guy, she must team up with the son of the man she murdered. And it's said in that voice. So all of the other things they're doing is just to service that. So of course it doesn't make any sense. Like, they didn't do a good job of going, well, how do we get here in a great, believable way, they were like, no, let's go to the cliche playbook and hit and run. Guy needs a heart transplant, heart operation. I keep saying transplant.
It is a transplant.
Was it a transplant?
I think so.
But either way, like, they just filled it with all of these cliches rather than really digging into, like what you said. Who are the characters? What would this character do? There's a million ways to get a politician in dirty trouble. You can just Google it. There's real stories. Politicians fuck up all the time. So there's no reason to just jump through these hoops, but they decided that's what they wanted to do. And it just like reeked of unoriginality.
Well, yeah, totally not. Like so many like other projects like Pinocchio and Asura and While You Were Sleeping, like all these like there's so many more. I can't even like remember the names because it's like, you know, a pile of dramas with the same exact like not storyline per se, but like everything from like all the tropes and all the cliches and all the same way of how they solve everything. It's just like gag.
Can I ask a really ignorant question? And I don't want to offend anybody with this, but I have kind of an ignorant question to ask. Do a lot of people get hit by cars in Korea?
Well, okay.
Because it feels like every drama I've ever seen, a Korean drama, someone is hit by a car, almost hit by a car, then pulled out of the way in the last minute. Like, there are so many people getting mowed over by cars in these dramas. Like, is this just a daily problem?
Well, I don't know. I've been to Korea a few times. There are there are some major crazy like crosswalks, which when I cross those crosswalks, I've never had issues. I have been in smaller neighborhoods where there's not really a sidewalk and people are just walking through the on the street. Right.
Narrow, like house-lined streets where the cars are coming around a corner and there's kind of not really much place for you to be out of the way.
Yeah. Or like, you know, like kind of the smaller, you know, where all like shopping is, you know, but then there's no sidewalks and stuff. And then like people do walk in the street and the cars will go by and they'll honk at the pedestrian and then the pedestrian will move over and then the car goes by. I don't know. Maybe there are a lot of people who just blow through these neighborhoods and like mow people over. I'm not sure because I've never been around when someone does get hit by a car.
I don't know, it's just a weird question that popped up in my head because it felt like I wouldn't even call being hit by a car a cliche or a trope, other than the fact that I just feel like it happens in all the dramas.
Yeah. Well, I've been hit by a cop car before. Like a tap on the knee with the bumper.
Did they take you to the city dump and then try to hire their buddy to have you killed?
No, they didn't care about losing their cop job.
Cop job. Tune in 9/7 Central for Cop Job from Dick Wolf.
So I do have to say that one of the things, like, I actually prefer this part more than her being comforting to him or like being a caring like mother figure to him, is actually her mother. And so he was going to her mom's restaurant and eating there and kind of keeping an eye on like the family and how to like ruin them all, right? And so he started like eating at this restaurant and like the woman's mom just treated him so well. And it was so comforting. And like and even though it's like short little like flashbacks or like little scenes of him just eating at her restaurant, it just hit harder. And it was simple. It wasn't like over the top. So it just felt more believable that, you know, like she's just a caring mom and a caring lady and feels bad for this young guy or young kid, you know, and it's just like very motherly to him. And it's just this to the point where he like no longer has a heart to like do her any harm. Like, I like that more than the whole coerced part, or comforted by her and, you know, like, and finds her to be such a good person, you know, like, that part was like, sure, okay, I believe it, but it doesn't hit as hard as the, part where her mom is like, has kind of taken him under her wing.
Right. I mean, it kind of helps flesh out her character a little bit. It makes her real because she has a mom, and like, it makes her all the way human.
Yeah. So he went to the restaurant in attempts to show the mom the picture of Soo-Hun's sister having a one-night stand or sexual relations with Soo-Hun's husband, right? And so when he shows up, the mom has fainted. And in another way to like show that he's like actually a good guy, he rushes her on his back, to the hospital, and like basically saves the mom. And so, like, those moments were way better for me. Also, this part is, like, a little bit more over-dramatized, but I'm okay with that. With their, like, kind of bond and connection. And it just shows, like, him, like, putting what's actually important first over his revenge.
Right, because they treated his character like a character. You know what I mean? Like, they had to invest in their main character, so you can't just make him a robot who must get revenge at all costs. I am Murderbot. Like, whereas the beginning of the show with the politician, like, you have politician bot and bad dad bot, and it's like, oh yeah, they're just servicing a story. They don't actually have a fleshed out character that you could see as a real person. Whereas, now here's your main lead.
Yeah.
He can't just leave her lying there and be like, but this thwarts my revenge. Got a lot of voices tonight. I don't know why.
Another really predictable outcome was that the husband had, sex with Soo-Hun's sister. I forgot her name, Yuri. So I saw it coming like 50 miles away. Like the minute there was like a few times when the sister had mentioned like, oh, all the good men are taken, or like, like, who would go after me or whatever, or like, whatever it was, right? Or someone saying like, oh, when are you gonna find a boyfriend? Or I can't remember. I was like, oh yeah, she's fucking the husband, like her brother-in-law.
Right.
Like immediately I was like, yeah. And then when they showed the picture, right, I was like, oh yeah, that's her for sure. Like 100% it's her, even though it's her back, right? And they tried to misdirect it and be like, oh, it's the neighbor. And I'm like, no, it's 100% the sister. And then I thought they were going to make, Soo-Hun like a little bit more smart. Because I thought she saw that picture and was like, oh yeah, that's my sister. Because like, how would you not notice your own sister of so many years is back? Like, I recognize my sister from her back, like, all the time. So, it's just so weird to me that she wouldn't know. And then, like, they tried to, like, hint at it, like, I think the director or whatever is like, oh, yeah, let's, like, kind of make it, like, she seems like she knows. But then, like, she doesn't know, and she's completely oblivious. So then when she finds out, it's just this horrifying, like, terror to her. And I'm like... There were scenes, I think they were in a cafe and they're sitting there and like she starts talking about getting that picture of a woman sleeping with him. And I'm like, "Oh, she's going to interrogate her. She's going to like slap it down and be like, 'This is you, bitch.'" No, none of that. She was just confiding in her sister, and which makes sense, but you would see that picture and you're like, yeah, that's my sister fucking my husband. Like,
can we say for a second, though, the set of cojones on Yuri, right? Just for a second. Your sister murdered the man who took her son. And you gonna fuck this woman's husband? She's been in jail, bitch. You're not looking at your sister going, This woman has seen times. This woman has seen blood. I'm gonna fuck her man. You have got to be out your goddamn mind.
I know.
Like, what? Yeah. This woman, she did hard time for murder. You don't fuck her husband. Are you crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, okay, here's my thing. Well, yes, don't fuck your sister's husband. That should be a fucking given, okay?
No. Okay, people do stupid shit all the time.
Yeah.
People fuck each other's sisters, husbands, girlfriends, brothers, ex-wife. But she's a murderer. You don't go antagonizing murderers.
Yeah.
The other thing is morally reprehensible. But the murderer part just ain't smart.
Yeah. But anyway, like, it just, like, I get this point of view of him where, like, you know, she's already given up on him. She's, like, given him divorce papers. Honestly, like, he has the right to go sleep with other people. You know what I mean? But for the sister, and the thing is, like, he was drunk off his ass. I'm not saying, like, I don't condone using being drunk as an excuse to do anything. You know, like, I don't believe in that. But, like, she wasn't drunk. Like, maybe she had 2 sips of beer. Like, you know? So it's like, oh yeah, he goes and kisses you, and you're like, okay, this is pretty good. Like,
but I do think, like, we all know, like, bro code, or, like, gal code. I don't know if it's gal code, bro code, whatever you're talking about. You don't, like, date your, like, best friend's ex.
Yeah.
And when you do, you better be prepared for some fallout. So divorce papers or not, you don't fuck your wife or soon-to-be ex-wife or estranged wife, whatever she is. You don't bang her sister.
Yeah.
And also, she's a murderer. She's gonna kill you, bro. Like, she's capable of murder. And you guys are just like, you know what? We just really wanted to have sex. But also, I want to talk about it in a bigger way, and I think it goes back to the tired cliche pile, which is the way that drinking alcohol and being drunk is portrayed in some of these dramas as, if I'm upset, I gotta go drink, because that's what people do when they're upset, and they just go drink too much and they pass out, which is fucking weird. Like, it's just weird, guys. Like, drinking till you pass out because you're sad is not freaking normal, and I hate how normal they make it in these dramas. And I also hate, like, I've been really drunk in my life. I have never blacked out from being drunk and not had a pretty good control of my awareness. So it's such a crutch to be like, I'm drunk, I just had to put my dick in your sister. Like, no, like, you knew what you were doing, and maybe, like, you just didn't care about the consequences because you were drunk. But it just bothers me so much in some of these shows of, like, the way alcohol is portrayed, and just, like, binge drinking till you're vomiting is just, like, in everything. I'm like, man, I can count on, like, one hand probably how many times I've drank so much that I was sick, and it's never been when I was sad. And so for that to be, like, a thing they normalize, I don't know, it's an ick to me. Like, it's a thing on a show I would never write.
Yeah, and it's just, like, in society in general, I feel like people give other people, like, a pass because they're drunk, and it was, like, alcohol, like, influenced crimes, and alcohol influenced mistakes, and it's just, like, can we not give our society, like, this, like, excuse that they can do bad things just because they drank alcohol? You know, like,
if you think about the weird logic of that, is that congressman hits the kid while he's drunk. That is going to ruin his career. But it's okay if you're drunk and do other things, because sometimes it's an excuse and sometimes it's bad. You know what I mean? It's this weird, like, line that we draw as a society. And honestly, a lot of times it's just an entertainment platform that is really like, should we be representing alcohol this way? Because I enjoy a beer. I enjoy a drink. I enjoy feeling buzzed. it's fun, but in the way that it is just kind of used in TV, and this is not like Korean drama, Asian drama, Western show. This is across all media. I think we do it in America in the same way that I hate, and I just wish it would go away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, back in, I don't know, this is, like, over 10 years ago, I think now, when, like, Brock Turner was like, oh, yeah, I was drunk, and then, like, he raped that girl behind the dumpster or whatever.
Oh, yeah, is that the swim guy? He was an athlete or a lacrosse guy or something.
Yeah, and it was just like, and everyone was like, oh, he was drunk, boys will be boys, and she was at a frat party, and it was like victim blaming and all this. Blaming. And it's just like, again, it's like giving someone an excuse because they had alcohol. You know what I mean?
That's
and
gross.
It's just, it's so nasty. And I'm like, can we not do that now? Like, anyway, we're getting off. I already mentioned some of the stuff that I did like. The acting was pretty decent, even though I do think Chan-wook could have done a little bit darker. But yeah, I do agree that they were scared to death to make him a little darker. Kim Nam-joo was pretty good, you know, like, again, very, like, over dramatic, like, scenes. I don't blame her at all. I blame the writers and the director and stuff, which is, like, it's just classic K-drama. Like, this is 100% your classic K-drama that, like, is very over the top, very, very, it's drama, you know, and so I understand that. I just kind of do wish that we could get with the times a little bit and be a little bit more innovative. I do like that at the end when the husband's mom kind of tells him, like, no matter what happens to you and your wife, like, you should still, like, care for your mother-in-law. Like, it's not right for you not to care for her and, like, treat her like family. So I think that's a very Asian culture thing, but I do really like it. I appreciate it. It just has this nice little touch. It's like, yeah, we may not be together anymore, which they don't really answer in the end if they actually aren't together. It's pretty much they're divorced, and, like, Soo-hyun's, like, working at this orphanage, you know, and, like, really caring for all the kids and taking them out on outings and dinners and stuff like that, you know, and each person has their own life that they're living after all this trauma. And then she's written a new book, and the new book is basically, like, I don't remember if the title is Wonderful World, but I think it is, that her new book title is Wonderful World, and it's like, I wish that no matter what you're going through, you can still see this world as a wonderful world.
Yeah, I mean, bad shit happens, right?
Yeah. So, like, you know, go through grief, trauma, and heal is kind of the theme of it, which I like the message. It's just, I wish the drama itself was better. And just not so, you know, rinse and repeat.
I mean, there's a version of this show, and it's very different, and it's probably not a bigger budget, you know, mainstream drama, but there is a version of this about two people getting over loss. And it is interesting as a pitch of confiding in the person that killed your dad about your loss. You know what I mean? There's conflicted emotions here. I think what you said at the top makes the most sense. It's like there's parts here where they could have bonded, and they could have spent a lot of time digging into these really complex emotions of, you know, I miss my dad. Wait, you're the one that killed him? Oh my God. Like, there's some back and forth, there's some discovery, there's character work. It's a more of an independent drama than a kind of a mainstream, probably networky drama, but all that feels interesting. But then you throw in this kind of political conspiracy and just cartoon characters, and you just lose all of that subtlety. Yeah. And suddenly whatever this pitch was is just It's a cartoon of itself.
Yeah, I agree. I think they put their emphasis on the wrong aspect of the drama. They put it so much on like corruption and politics and like evil characters when they barely spent enough time on like really like developing their characters, their bond for each other, their struggle with like accepting the fact that like the person who murdered your father is like not a bad person, and then the struggle of like accepting the fact that your own dad is kind of a bad person. It's just like these things, I don't think they put enough time in really developing it, really digging deep and like pulling those emotions out. Like it's kind of surface. And so they just spent so much time on this other stuff of like trying to get the bad guy and like, you know, showing this like over the top villain and like hated by the world or but frustrated because, you know, the world actually loves him and you're the only one that knows what a terrible person he is. Like all that stuff we've seen already. You know, like we don't need to see that. That's not where the emphasis should be. It's always like your characters, your lead characters, their emotions, everything. Like you need to draw that out. Like you need to, you know, the bond that they have for each other. That's what we want to see. That's what the trailer was showing us. But then they had 3 scenes of it that they kept just cutting it over and over again. I know I'm repeating myself, but yeah.
But also that emotion you're talking about, not the good one, the kind of this guy's such a bad guy and I need to get my justice and I need to like let the world know. It's a very one-note emotion. It's not a complex emotion that demands lots and lots of screen time. Whereas the other emotions of, oh man, did I kill the wrong person? Did I act in this horrible way? What have I learned from my time in jail? Like there's just so many things you can reflect on personally that makes these complicated emotions interesting. Like you can love someone that you hate. That's a complex emotion. So, like, why not dig into that? Instead of, politician bad, must destroy. Like, who cares?
Yeah. So, that's why I'm so frustrated, because I think it could have been good if they really put more effort into it. It's one of those, like fast food K-dramas where, like, they just put everything together really quickly and then it push out the product, and it's, like, the same thing. It's, like, you know, already pre-made, you just gotta microwave it kind of thing, and it's just kind of gross and greasy after you eat it.
Can we trademark fast food K-dramas? I like that term, or just fast food dramas. I love this term. Because you're right, it's just there's no nutrition. There's nothing here. It's just like, oh, I'm hungry, let me just consume this and then shit it out.
Yeah, pretty much. I do like, but I'm not really sure it works. I like that they kind of work together to set the other guy straight. The Kwon Min Hyuk, he is the guy that Sunyeol was like posing as.
Yeah, the kid was burned, and then she thought she was helping him. But okay.
So the thing is, he had a major gambling addiction, right? Throwing his life away, you know, having so much hate for her inmate friend that had passed away in prison. They, you know, showed him care, and the thing is, I'm not really sure what they do would really help someone who's a gambling addict, you know, and like, just like his mentality. I think it would take so much time to get through to someone with his mentality, but they just kind of like threw him a bone and was like, all right, you're fixed, you know. And then in the end, like, he kind of shows up, he's like, they helped me so much, they saved my life, you know. And I'm like, but sure, like, he paid off his debt, his gambling debt. He brought him some instant food, you know, so he doesn't starve to death. Maybe I think he even gave him money or something. And then he was like, he got mad at Sunyeol you know, and then Soo-hyun comes up and was like, hey, here's a card to this therapist. I think you should really, like, contact her. She's going to help you and get you straight and back on your feet. Stuff like that, which maybe it's the therapist that actually saved him and not the two, but, like, I don't know. It's just, like, giving them a lot of credit. I liked that they worked together to help him. That part, yes. I'm not sure what they did really helped him in terms of, like thinking about reality. Because, like, addiction, it's really hard to, like, overcome addiction and not just be like, you should stop gambling. Like, and then they're like, oh, yeah, okay, thanks for paying my debt. Like, no, they're gonna just go back and, you know, gamble again or whatever addiction you have. Like, they're gonna go back and do what they're addicted to. So it's just, like, not, like,
well, it's making the problem seem really simple.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it just needs this simple solution. Like, here we go. We've solved gambling. It's like, well, no. And in the meantime, we've solved racism. You're like, oh, really? Good for you guys. Nice job. Like, yeah. I think that's another thing of, like, looking at social issues and then just being like, oh, we can solve this in 3 scenes.
Yeah.
You can do something nice for someone and maybe, like, show the first step of that. And that's the first step they're getting credit for, maybe. So, but it does feel a little oversimplified.
Yeah. So, just some little things that I do like about it. I just really was hoping for more, something a little deeper than what we got as this product. But, yeah.
Well, this drama was about as deep as the shallow end of kiddie pool.
Yeah. So, I think that kind of wraps it up. As you can tell, we didn't really like it. Don't know what to tell you because I know there's a lot of people who did enjoy it and thought it was really innovative and good, and we do not agree. But
no, I think it's what you said. Like, if you look at it in the surface, if you're doing your laundry while watching this or playing Candy Crush and it's just kind of on in the background, there might be some things that you can grab onto. And you may just love the lead actor so much that it doesn't really matter. You could just watch him, you know, reading a book in the forest and you'd be happy. But I think if you really dig into what was done from a dramatic standpoint and a writing and directing and filmmaking standpoint, there's just nothing here. Like, if someone were to ask me, like, oh, why should I watch that? Like, there's not really a reason. It's just, oh, do you want to see something that's been done 100 times, but it's done this time?
Yeah. So, I also think maybe some new K-drama watchers would really like this because it's very classic K-drama. It's, you know, K-drama structure. It's just, you know, because, you know, I've been watching stuff for so long now that I've seen it so many times, like, you know, recycled over and over and over again, that I'm so sick and tired of it. But, you know, when you're new to it will seem like, oh, this is interesting or whatever.
You know what I think people thought what was fresh about it? Is the complex grayness of her character. Like, you're following someone who committed murder, but they're the hero of our story. And so, like, ooh, a gray character, not like a white knight or some character that doesn't have a little dirt on them.
Or a Mary Jane or something.
Yeah, Mary Sue.
Mary Sue.
Mary Jane is marijuana. And Mary Sue can do everything. But I think it's getting too much credit for existing in this gray area it doesn't really exist in. Like, again, on the surface, you could say, ooh, gray, complex characters. But if you really shine a light on it, no, not really.
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything gray.
Well, also, but yeah, like, murder is bad. Like, we do not want to glorify murder, no matter how she justifies it, you know, and I feel like...
Unless you're John Wick and they've killed your puppy. Then murder is good.
I guess for the action stuff. But it's all, you know, like, whatever. But
no, murder is bad. I don't even know if that's good enough to be a theme, though. Like, murder is bad, folks. Well, duh. Great theme there, guys.
Yeah. But also, like, there was a moment where you're like, oh, she might have just killed the wrong person, you know? And it's just like, see, you don't just jump to murder. That's, like, not cool. But anyway, whatever.
Should we just rate this stupid thing already?
Yes, so my rating is swearing to never board again.
And that's low. I don't think it's your lowest, but that's pretty low for you because you're pretty forgiving for a lot of things.
I'm very forgiving.
I am not. This is a counting the minutes till the end because I think I literally did that.
Yeah, I think you did.
Are we done yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Anyway, after that, we are doing a recommendation. I'm going to recommend an old Hong Kong song. Yeah, like one of the lyrics is, you're gonna feel the knife stab into your heart, kind of, you know. And so it's just very, a song that I listened to back in the 90s.
Back when we listened to it on CDs and MP3s and got it off the Napster.
Oh, God. Anyway, it is a song by Amanda Lee Wai Mun. It is a 1995 Cantonese song. It's kind of interesting because in the parentheses, they have Lei Mut Yao, which is like you don't have or you won't have. And then in regular words, it's Ho Gi Guo, which means like a good ending. So the title of the song is You Won't Have a Good Ending. So, yeah, sentiments of revenge and cursing another person. So it goes really well with this drama.
But still, we're not encouraging murdering.
Yes, we are not encouraging murdering.
So stop revenging each other. That wraps up for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at DramaMeans_podcast for some more content and teasers and spoilers and all sorts of stuff we put up there.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for listening. We will see you next week.